Before anything else happens, I want to preface that I really like this movie. It's very fun, and as an animator, the work they put into this is gorgeous. The amount of recognition and awards it's getting is extremely well deserved, and K-pop Demon Hunters is one of the best things that has happened to animation in modern history. Period. It's incredible. As an animator, this movie makes me very happy. At this point, I've watched this movie several times, be it alone, with other people, seeking reaction channels to see alongside them and their reactions and opinions, and just deeply analyzing how I feel about this movie or if there's something wrong with me, because in the end, and despite all of the good and awesome and incredible things this movie has done, the animation, the color palettes, acting, or anything else, I do have very mixed feelings when it comes to the storytelling part of this movie. And as a storyteller myself, I can't help but notice the amount of loose ends this movie has. Now, I'm well aware that the story of the movie as a whole was cut down by the runtime or the unexpected changes in production, which, if you've ever worked in an animation project, you know happens very often. There's since been announced cut scenes from this movie that can really change how you see the full story and characters presented to you. It adds a lot of very important information. However, I will be criticizing the finished product, which is what most people are familiar with. Though, I will also bring up the cutscenes when it comes to it, don't worry about it. And that's what I want to address today. I want to talk about the flaws I kept seeing storytelling-wise in this movie and talk about the potential they had around them, and maybe a small take on how it could have been fixed. Now, I am by no means a perfect storyteller, but we could have some fun or something. While listing down my issues with this movie, I realized it's split pretty evenly between two categories, and those are demons and everything demon related, and huntrix or everything huntrix related. So, starting with demons. I think the first glaring problem I had were the Saja boys. This has been said before in Twitter and Tumblr, I've seen it, but none of the Saja boys, besides Jinyu, is an actual character. During my first watch of this movie, I didn't even know they had names until I went to Twitter and Tumblr to see what other people had to say about it. At first, I was extremely weirded out when the Saja boys were so popular in the fandom when there's not much to do with them in the first place. But after thinking about it, it's because these characters, conceptually, have so much fun potential for fans to mold them into anything. And while I do agree that can be very fun, sandbox characters, here's where my issue starts. The movie establishes other demons well enough as characters, except for the Saja boys. We see it in Gima's crowd, the bathhouse demons, and I'd even say that the airplane demons have more depth to them than the Saja boys. Again, excluding Jinu. And not having a personality doesn't need to be a bad thing. It has been brought up that the Saja boys are made to be a criticism for how male K-pop band members are often perceived by fans, as infants, as the mysterious type, as sex idols. And this is a great conversation to bring to the table and to point out, to mock. And even the movie does it in a way. Please do bring up these things into discussions. It's interesting and eye-opening to think about. The issue is the film does bring up characterization in other demons. As brave as they may be, it is there. And not having this for half of the main cast is frustrating, to say the least. And even worse is that the movie brings up more questions for the Saja boys as characters. We're shown demons are bad at acting. How do they know how to fool the masses? Gima especially says that he let Jinu keep his voice. So with this, we can assume demons can sing. How can the Saja boys sing? Please do tell how am I to understand that these four demons can sing and dance when the movie actively presented information that said demons can't act or that they can only sing if Gima allows it. And I know and I thought about these things I'm presenting big as nitpicks, and you know what? Fair. But I just can't shake it off. When a story is actively presenting information that contradicts in some way the main cast without explaining why it doesn't affect the main cast, it's just very confusing. In any media you consume in one way or another, you wonder, who are these characters? Why are they here? This question is answered simply enough in the movie. They are demons who want to defeat the hunters. And that's all good, but who are they? Even better, why are they the ones joining Ginu to become the Saja Boys? Why not someone else? Why not the demons from the plane? Or any other previous demons that already had contact with huntrix and could know a bit on how they behave and act? What's the real motivation? What made them want to become the Saja Boys? I've dabbled back and forth on how this could be fixed. Ideally, you'd want to give them actual character, understand their motivations, their talents, just the usual character background to make them mean something. But it is known the main struggle with this movie is that they didn't offer them enough time in the movie itself. And fleshing out 4 more characters was going to be quite an impossible task to begin with. You'd have to sacrifice other plot lines to make space for this one, and in comparison, those other plot lines were more important in the long run. So how do we fix half the main cast not having character? And I had 2 ideas. One, and I'm not very fond of this one, is make the Saja Boys fragments of Ginu. I mean, Ginu is allowed to keep his voice and he knows how to perform if his behavior on stage is anything to go by. Making the Saja Boys fragments of Ginu could fix the question of how the other Saja Boys know how to sing. I'm not entirely too fond of this idea because it could mean all of Huntrix is attracted to Ginu in some way, and that's just weird. So here's the second idea. Gima just creates them. Gima has kept his eyes on the hunters for ages. Surely he's picked up on how they perform and behave. And he could know how Huntrix acts on stage. I don't think it's too far-fetched to assume he could just create these boy band archetypes or stereotypes based on how Huntrix is. Gima could also just study other K-pop groups as they were briefly shown in the movie. Ginu tells Gima his plan and Gima could be like, okay, bet, and gives him these, I don't know, puppets, so his plan could work without a hitch. Now, are these ideas great? No, but it could be a way to avoid questioning who the Saja Boys are and avoid spending runtime giving them characterization so the plot focuses on more important things. They are either fragments of Ginu, which I don't like this idea, or they are puppets created by Gima as means to an end. Now, speaking of demon characterization, why are we told, by Ginu specifically, that all demons do is feel, suffer, condemned to serve Gima forever against their will, only to never bring this up again and kill all the demons all the same? Rumi herself starts asking these questions if they are being forced to do this by Gima, and it's never brought up again. Ginu, by just existing, shows demons are not as one-dimensional as the hunters have believed they are. They have feelings. That's all they can do. Feel pain, feel sorrow, hear their worst fears whispered by Gima over and over. This is questioned once by Rumi, and then never again, and they kill all the demons all the same. Zoe even brings up once that the Saja Boys look like nice demons, and obviously this is brushed off as a silly comment, but it does establish that there could be nice demons, and it's never touched upon besides Gino, arguably. Rumi's dad is a demon, so it's safe to assume he fell in love with her mother. It's again a glimpse and a certain plot point that demons can be good and have wants and dreams besides serving Gima. I'm pronouncing Gima as they pronounce it in the movie. I don't know if it's correct, but I'm trying. It's just very frustrating seeing all of these glimpses of characterization and depth to the demons and just never be expanded upon. It makes me sad, and that's kind of a trend in this movie, but I'll expand about this in a bit. Another thing that bugged me is the hunters have been there generation after generation, and while they are very strong, you will think Gima will start picking up his strategy to counter them. In the How It's Done sequence, the airplane demons are not really that bright, and that's not bad by itself. It establishes the existence of demons in a very simple way, and the sequence is more to showcase Huntrix's skills. My issue is what happens after. When the airplane demon survivor is punished by Gima for letting Huntrix escape again. You could argue these demons acted on their own accord and wanted to take Huntrix down themselves, shoot their shot if you will, but with this one scene it's implied Gima sent them. Why send them? Again, you could argue the Hunmoon is too strong and it's weakening all demons, which, fair, I can see that. But still, you could think Gima could send more skilled demons as, Jinu by existing implies there's more skilled demons. There's even an implication that different types of demons exist with the water demons from the bathhouse. I would just really love to see a demon hierarchy of sorts. Gima up the top, obviously he's our king. Then strong or smart demons like Jinu, then demons like the airplane demons, and then those mindless creepy hordes of demons like the ones in the train. I think that will be very cool and add an structured army under Gima's command. And as a last demon issue, the Saja boys died. All of them died, and at the end of the movie no one knows where they went. I'll expand a bit on this in the huntrix section, but it's unsure if the people at the end know of Huntrix's real purpose as demon hunters, or the Sasha boys' true nature as demons, or if the people just think everything was an amazing, extremely well-produced performance. If it's the latter, then why does no one question what happened to the Sasha boys? Hello! Also, Gima just dies. You blink and the Demon King that's been opposing the Hunters for ages dies. My condolences if you wanted to see more to that. Now with Huntrix and everything Huntrix related. I've talked a bit about Rumi's dad and how that's an issue that is brought up and never expanded upon. And while I brought this up as a demon problem, as consequence, it is also a Rumi problem. The entire plot is about how her mere existence contradicts everything the hunters stand for. She hides her patterns out of shame and fear of being rejected. She sees herself as a mistake. She feels like she deserves to die. And these are all extremely valid things. She's a walking contradiction to the beliefs of hunters. But knowing the reason she's like this, it's because her mother fell in love with a demon. You can't help but wonder, how? Why? How was Rumi's upbringing before her parents died? How did she feel when her parents died? I said in the beginning of this video that K-pop demon hunters had to cut a lot of scenes because they weren't given enough runtime. One of these scenes is precisely flashbacks on how her parents fell in love, how they saw Rumi, how she was loved. There's also scenes of her as a child training to become a hunter. All of this will give so much more depth to her character and backstory, but it was just unfortunately cut. Most of the issues with this movie just boils down to time management, and I don't blame the crew for this. You can tell they put so much heart into this film and they wanted to make do with what they had, but it's just so frustrating. There's a scene in the film that is repeated twice and it could have just been cut. You have Gima reminding Jinu he abandoned his family, and later we have Jinu telling Rumi he abandoned his family, and the exact same flashback is shown. Just cut things like this and use it to explain the main cast. For this one thing I'm about to mention, I know I am alone in this. I know I'm alone. And it will probably make a lot of people mad, and that's understandable. But I think Mira and Zoe suffer a lot from Tell Done Show. I am alone in this, but hear me out. Once again, we get glimpses of their past. We know Zoe's ideas were once considered weird, and that she probably struggled between two cultures by being both Korean and from the US. We know Mira was the problem child, the black sheep of her family, and that she yearned to have a true family. But all of this information is not shown to us, it's told. It's a storytelling golden rule to show, don't tell. Show us in their behavior, their character, their struggles, not by straight up telling us, but just telling us, sure, you put out that information easily, but you don't see it in the character itself. There's also a deleted scene that shows how Zoe was bullied as a child for her ideas, but once again, it's a deleted scene. I've seen our TikTok analysis on how Zoe behaves that hints to her US heritage, but it feels very cornplate-ish to me. You really, really have to zoom in to see these behaviors, and it's just not doing it for me personally. Once again, it's glimpses of the main cast having depth, but they're barely showing it on screen. And it sucks because this could also bring up interesting discussions to the table, struggling with your identity culturally, growing up as a black sheep, not having a family, finding one in the Hunters. The conversation they have before the Idol Awards is the closest we have to seeing Mira and Zoe deeply, but once again, it's tell, don't show. If you relate to Zoe or Mira or both, please know that's entirely valid, and I love that you can see yourself in them. A lot of people love them as they are and relate to them with the information that's presented in the movie, and that's great. I love that you have that for yourself. Just personally, I wish we could have more on this instead of just zooming in like 5-second fragments of the movie. I just wish it was shown more. In one of my rewatches, I rewatched it with my partner, and he goes, "The fans are stupid." Now, I don't think I'm fully on board with the fans are stupid idea, but it did make me think. The entire foundation of the Hunters is to keep the Hunmoon strong so demons don't come into the human realm and kill everybody. The Hunmoon is strengthened by the fans. The fans are the foundation, the reason why the demons are kept at bay. But watching the movie, the fans are not really treated with respect, as you would expect they be, since they are the reason the Hunmoon is up. They are treated as means to an end. Much like the Saya Boys, the fans are portrayed in a way to mock or criticize how real-life fans act towards idols. And as I said with the Saya Boys, this criticism is great and opens a lot of doors to discussion and self-reflection, and that's awesome. But the fans are the backbone of the Hunmoon, and they are barely treated as such. Sure, there's many mentions of huntrix saying they must keep the fans safe and how they need every fan. But again, it sounds more like means to an end, like they are using them, more than coming from a sense of respect. Also, a lot of people die. So many people die, and it's barely touched upon. The subway scene, dozens of people die. Not brought up. I will say we do get a throwaway line about the missing cases of people, but it's never brought up again, and a lot more people die afterwards. The Your Idol sequence, a lot of people are being actively fed to Gima. They are dead. Huntrix doesn't seem to really care besides the train scene. The other people definitely didn't seem to care, and that's just really frustrating. In fact, the fans don't seem to care about anything that isn't Huntrix or the Saya Boys performing. Again, this could be to mock how fans treat idols, but it's just, at least make some of them question what happened. We don't know if it's public that Huntrix are actually demon hunters and the Saya Boys are demons, or if it was just a really good publicity stunt. And again, if it is the latter, it just shows how the fans have no depth to them whatsoever, besides just being fans. Now, for my biggest issue. This is the one thing that has me actually pissed about the movie, okay? This is the one thing that actually makes me mad. Celine. Celine is Huntrix's master, a skilled demon hunter, and in a way, Rumi's adoptive mother after the death of her parents. By these descriptors, you would think she'd make more appearances or have more of an impact, but she doesn't. Okay, I'm lying. She does have an impact. She's the entire reason the plot of the movie happens. She's the one who told Huntrix, especially Rumi, to internalize their feelings, which built up Rumi's shame and fear for Mira's and Zoe's reaction, which made Rumi's patterns grow and eventually led to Rumi's demonic side to take over. Actually, Zoe and Mira internalize their feelings too, due to Celine's literal words, "Our faults and fears must never be seen." And yet Celine appears for maybe 5 minutes throughout the entire movie, and her only meaningful and last appearance was Rumi telling her exactly that Celine told her to hide, to feel ashamed, only for Celine to double down and insist that Rumi hiding her demon side was the right choice, even implying she saw Rumi as a mistake herself and how she tried to accept her. But the way she says it also implies she never truly did. She appears for maybe 5 minutes. Actually, I'm gonna count in pre-production. I'm gonna show you exactly how many minutes she showed up. Among the deleted scenes, there was this very, very important one where Celine just straight up kills Rumi's parents. As I understand it, she went for Rumi's dad, accidentally killed Rumi's mom instead, and then finally killed Rumi's dad as revenge. Now, I don't think I need to tell you why it's so frustrating this was cut off, but I'll do it anyway. I know, the crew only had so much time to cover so much ground. But with this scene, you have 1. Establish Rumi's parents as characters. 2. Know what happened to them and why. 3. Establish more depth to Celine's character and her hatred for demons and even discomfort for Rumi. People say that with this deleted scene, Celine was going to be the original villain of the movie. But in my eyes, Celine is already the villain. If it weren't for Celine, Rumi wouldn't have felt so ashamed of her patterns, so afraid. She wouldn't have to internalize her feelings. She wouldn't have had the need to hide from Mira and Zoe. In fact, Mira and Zoe would have probably provided a very good support system if the situation was properly explained to them. And the only reason they reacted so poorly to Rumi's patterns in the movie is because Rumi kept it from them. Plus, they also didn't expect it, and in their eyes, Rumi could have just been converted into a demon, and even then, they were hesitant to draw their weapons. If it weren't for Celine, the honeymoon could have been sealed the moment Golden was released, because Rumi wouldn't have to keep internalizing. Her parents wouldn't have reached her throat and prevent her from singing. In fact, Rumi herself bring this up with Ginu. Her voice healed because she finally started talking about her feelings. She was letting it out. I'm all from women's wrongs, and Celine making this awful mistake, making the hunters, Rumi, feel ashamed of themselves, fearful of others' reactions, felt the need to fix themselves as if they were a mistake, is very interesting storytelling. But I feel like the closure on that was extremely important considering how deeply intertwined it was with Rumi's mental well-being and the entire plot. Celine could have taken back the damage she did or have a meaningful interaction with Rumi, and the chance was right there when Rumi asked Celine to kill her. Personally, I don't think I would have liked to see Celine apologize. I think her doubling down and staying in that belief would have had said so much of her character. And then have Rumi decide to separate herself from Celine and see the worth in herself. This is what pretty much happened in the film already, except Celine is never once actually shown as the villain, or it's properly pointed out how everything is her fault, not Rumi's. Celine is the real villain of the film, and I will die on this hill. I've been spending a lot of time talking about how much problems I have with the storytelling of this movie, so let me counter it with things that made my brain tingle in a good way. Obviously, the animation is beautiful. The smile acting in characters and subtle movements, the way they play with the facial expressions and style, the variety, the colors. You know I'm a sucker for good saturated colors. This was a feast for me personally in that regard. There's a lot of visual scenes that scratch my brain in the right spot in every rewatch. The entire Your Idol scene is probably my favorite out of all of the musical numbers in the entire movie. The train scene, despite all of my gripes with what it entails in the long run, is beautifully animated. The acting and lip sync on Mira particularly makes me very happy. All the fight scenes make me very happy, and I feel for the animatic artists and animators because I can tell that wasn't easy to do. The way they show the generations of hunters during my first watch made me go, oh wow, because it's so fun the way they showed it. Then, when Rumi gets exposed on stage by the demons, the acting there really made me feel for Rumi. Seeing her cover her patterns, scared, was really, really sad, but again, the acting is so good and I love it. This movie brings to the table a conversation about internalizing your emotions and learning to not be ashamed of yourself anymore. And I think that's awesome. This movie is doing so many good things for animation history and for music history. I have nothing but respect for all the crew and all the artists that were involved in the production of this movie. They did their best with what they could, and even with all the problems I presented in this entire video, this has not pushed them back from the incredible success it's been getting. And I don't want them to get pushed back. This film is changing the industry actively and it deserves all the recognition it gets. But just because you like something doesn't mean you can't be critical about it. Like, I love Genshin Impact and Warrior Cats. Who am I to say that what I consumed isn't flawed? Criticizing something you like doesn't make the media awful, and it certainly doesn't make you awful or a hypocrite. Personally, I bring things like this up mostly because I love the discussion and conversation that comes out of it. Different sharing of opinions is pretty interesting and can broaden how you feel about things and understand others. It's fun, as long as neither of the parties get aggressive or offensive, that is. And that's my thesis. That's my thesis about K-pop hunters. Thank you so much for watching this. This was originally going to be a Tumblr post, but it would have been too long, so here we are. I've struggled to post videos since March because of many health issues. My gallbladder almost popped and I needed emergency surgery, and I've been recovering from that. I've been in and out of emergency rooms and also busy in real life with work and short films, and it's just hell. But I have many more talking videos and animations planned, and I hope I can bring them to life when the time is right. Hopefully I won't need to return to the ER anytime soon again. I hope. Thank you so much for watching, have a good day, and thank you.